Within a couple of months, I fell into a deep depression. I suffered from high anxiety. And then I started getting these suicidal thoughts. And within a month and a half, the old Drak came back. But it was really close. But it really opened my eyes.
Welcome to Retirement Revealed. I'm your host, Jeremy Keil, and we're here to turn your retirement savings into retirement income. Today, we're talking with Mike Drak about retirement heaven and hell. Mike, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure being here, Jeremy.
Yeah, you've got an eye-catching title to your book, Retirement Heaven or Hell. Which will you choose? A lot packed into there. I'll tell you, my 10-year-old saw this book. She said, "Dad, why do you have this book with this bad word on it?" And I said, "I think that's the point, is you're trying to stay away from the bad word." And she kind of got it. So what
Yeah,
caused you to write this book, Mike?
it's just because it's just like a journal of what I went through when I experienced retirement. I was completely surprised. I worked in the financial services industry for 36 years. I helped hundreds, maybe thousands of people save for retirement. And I always believed that, the key to a successful retirement was saving a lot of money. And if you had a lot of money saved, retirement would be a no brainer. So that was my belief until I was forced into retirement by the bank. And I learned that completely wrong. And, I was the happiest guy in the world when they gave me severance because I was going to walk away with nothing because the bank was starting to stress me out a little bit and I didn't like working there anymore. So I was going to walk away with nothing. And when they gave me severance, I was the happiest guy in the world. I thought I hit the lottery. And everything was great for the first couple of weeks. I could sleep in. I didn't have a boss report to, no more long commute to work and putting up with the office politics and all that. But within a couple of weeks, I remember one morning I was sitting there trying to find something interesting to watch on TV. And my wife was leaving to go to work, and all my friends were still working. And I was just alone, sitting there, bored out of my mind, didn't know what to do with my time, and just feeling sorry for myself. And it just got worse and worse from that point on. The depression started to sink in. I did enjoy doing things that I normally would love to do, like ride my bike or go fishing. I just want to sit there and moan.
Hmm.
And what really, really irritated me was that no one could understand what I was going through. My wife couldn't understand. She's pretty sharp. She's a wealth advisor. And my friends didn't understand because everyone automatically thought, like, how can Mike be unhappy because he doesn't have to work anymore? And the truth is, I was unhappy because I wasn't working anymore. But I learned from my mistakes, and that led to the writing of three books, as a matter of fact. Yeah, everyone was a different stage in the process for me. But Retirement Heaven and Hell was when I was just sitting there trying to figure things out. And it took me a long time. I remember I went out and got my hands on every retirement book written at that point. We're talking 10 years ago. And I read them all, but I was really disappointed because none of them dealt with the psychological challenges people face when they retire. They only talked about the money thing. And I understand that because when I was in the bank, that's all I talked about too. I thought money was the solution to all our problems, and it's not. I learned it the hard way.
Yeah, you went through it in a way. You described that you're part of a working hell, and you thought maybe the retirement heaven might show up, and that's probably why friends who are still working were saying, "Mike, what's the deal? How can you be, uh, having these situations?" I love that your book, you just described that it's kind of written out of your journey. Large part of the book, every chapter you go through and you describe how you went through the different. It's not just theory.
Yeah.
You're talking about what your experience has been, and part of that is you described the stages of retirement. First, there's the honeymoon, which you described for you, and then there's a hellish part of it, and then hopefully and thankfully there can be an escape. Tell me a bit for you, what was that escape? How did you turn things around to start moving forward out of that kind of down moments
Well,
after your honeymoon?
it was a complicated process. I didn't realize how complicated it would be because over the years while working in the bank, I lost touch with my real self. Like I became a banker, and I never really liked being a banker in the first place, right? But I needed the money. I had to take care of my family and things like that. So I guess you could say I faked it for 36 years. I really didn't
Fake
enjoy.
it till you make it, right?
Yeah, but that's a long time to fake it. And so when I was forced into retirement, I had to rethink and remember the things that really made me happy, the things I had passion for that I love to do. And so I had to reconnect with the real me again. And that took some time. And but then when I started working on that and I started saying, okay, let's make a list of what makes me happy and let's do more of those things. And then I want to learn maybe there's new possibilities out there that I've never had a chance to try before when I was working full time. Let's experiment. Let's check this out. Will this make me happy? And so I started, testing things out, and I came up with basically a new me with new interests that aligned with my values and that made me happy. So I kept experimenting and going through those things, and it took a long time. It took me about 10 years before I finally can say I got it right and life is really good. But I had no one to guide me. Like back then, there were no retirement coaches or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, there were no books on the subject. Basically, we were told when you hit 65, you got to give up, just quit, just sit back, take it easy and rest because that's what you're supposed to do. And retirement doesn't work like that anymore. So my job, my mission is to help people through the books to get there sooner, preferably to help them prepare before they actually jump into retirement and just go on to a great life. But it's much more complicated than people think.
Yeah, it's a lot more complicated. And I think a lot of the stuff you're talking about there is losing a sense of purpose, finding your sense of purpose. I've interviewed Dr. Jordan Gromit, who wrote the Purpose Code. Have you been on his podcast?
No,
Okay,
no,
I got to get you connected to Doc G because I think he would love to connect with you. I think you're a
that would be fun.
real life example talking through what he's discovered around purpose. And I think it's pretty similar to what you've discovered and talked about in the book. You share some again a lot of personal stories. You shared about how your dad had some retirement shock when he retired, and how finding a part-time job really helped him out. And then he had unfortunately passed away, which was somewhat of a retirement shock. And it was a shock in a lot of
Sure.
reasons, but it was somewhat of a retirement shock connected for your mom. And then she found some purpose too as well pretty soon thereafter. Do you mind sharing a bit of those two stories?
Well, my father, it was really, interesting because I never really thought about it when I retired, but he suffered from retirement shock for about a year. And I had a good friend die from it. He ended up
Mm-hmm.
drinking himself to death because he moved out of town where he didn't know anyone, he had no connections, and it ended up killing him. So my father is really interesting because within a couple, again, within like a month of retiring, yeah, he started going to retirement shock because he tried. My mother retired first, and he tried to follow her and do what she was doing. So what she would do is get up in the morning and putter around doing things, and getting maybe the dinner ready and things like that. In the afternoon, she would sit back and watch about 2-3 hours of soap operas. So my father tried to do that for a week or so, and then he finally cracked. He just couldn't do it. And he was miserable. And every day he kept telling us stories about uh, work stories
Mm-hmm.
about what he did and problems he solved and things he learned and things like that. And it just kept going on and on. The same stories repeat themselves over and over again. Finally, my mother got upset one morning at breakfast, and she tossed a piece of the newspaper over to him, and it was the classified section. And she had circled a couple of part-time jobs. And she said, here, stop being so miserable. Go find yourself a job. And my father took the piece of paper and he went that day. And I guess back then you could do it. He found a part-time job the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard the job he found, I couldn't stop laughing because here's my father. He was a retired executive for a large corporation. He managed about 50 people in the accounting department. And he got a job delivering pet food for a small retail pet food company. And his job was to load up a van and go out a couple of days a week delivering people that couldn't make it into the store, elderly people or people with health problems and whatnot. And yeah, I remember he told me, when people would offer him a tip, he couldn't take it. He just couldn't because he wasn't working for the money. He was working for the purpose. But that job, that simple job, a couple days a week, turned his life around. And the retirement shock just vanished. And what was even better was that the young man that was managing the store, it was his first business, um, had my father serve as a mentor to him. So my
Hmm.
father taught him about sales. He taught him how to run the books. He taught him how to run a business properly. That really made my father feel valued because he could use his old experiences and the things he learned and help someone else, someone that was appreciative of the help he was getting. And from that day forward, no retirement shock. My father was happier than heck, and he lived a great life until age 72 when he got pancreatic cancer. But for 12 years, he was having a good time.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he found his purpose, and what you described is what Doc G talks about. Your purpose is not climbing Mount Everest; it's doing the things you enjoy doing every day. And there he is. He found some purpose um, in a few
Yeah.
different ways. Helping
And it
people.
was a
Yeah.
simple solution, but you would never think about that.
Yep.
You would think, oh, I got to work in a corporation again or something
Hmm.
like that. No, you don't. You got to test it and find out what will work for you. And what you're doing is you're satisfying your fundamental needs, a need for purpose, a need to be around others, a need to help people. These are very strong needs that maybe they were satisfied before when you were working full time, and you have to find new ways of satisfying them in retirement. Because if you don't, you're always going to be miserable.
Hmm.
So it's very important. I
Yeah.
learned a lot from my parents.
Yeah. Well, you've observed it, you've learned it, and you're sharing with others. And there's a diagram you put in your book talking about some different concepts. And I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. I'm sure. I think is it Ikigai? Tell me.
You got it. You
Okay. All right.
got it.
Ikigai. All right. As close as a North American can get to pronouncing a Japanese word. But what's described about is the intersection of what you're talking there. You said to look for what do you love, what are you good
Right.
at, what does the world need, and what you can be paid for. And some words within that is your passion, your mission, your profession, your vocation, and the intersection of all those is ikigai, and that's what you're really looking for. That's how
Well,
you
yeah.
can go about finding what your next activity, your next purpose might be. Describe a little bit, maybe how you came across that concept and how you've used it yourself.
Well, this is again from doing all my research on retirement and why I was feeling miserable about things. And, I studied finding purpose a great deal and I bumped into Ikigai. And when I saw it, I went, wow, this is really interesting. And what I really love about it is it's a simple process. But where you have to take it, you have to go somewhere quiet all by yourself, and you really have to focus on it. And you have to go deep within yourself because the answers you're looking for are already inside you. And it's just a process of pulling them out. I think of Ikigai as the tumblers on a safe, and you keep spinning it until it clicks in place and the door opens, right? So I used a diagram uh, to find one solution. And then I question it and I say, well, is this the best solution for me? Or is there a better one? And I spin it again. And I'll come out with maybe three or four different types of purpose. And then I'll go out and test them and find the best one. So I can give a quick example. The first time I used it, I looked at it and I said, you know what? I have a real passion for fishing. I really enjoy it. I know it well. I've read countless books on it and watched YouTube videos on it. I can answer any questions on it. And I love talking to people about it. And it clicked to me. I said, why not get a job at Bass Pro Shops, work in a fishing department? I would know I would be the best employee they ever had because I had a huge passion for, for fishing, and I love helping people. So yeah, it was a no-brainer. I was going to do it, and I thought, eh, I don't want to work weekends because I want that time off, because that's, time I spend with my family. So although it's a great solution, I'm not going to do it. And then I just spun it around some more, and I found another one where I could work part time for a financial services company. I thought this would be great too. And I have the experience. I love helping people. I always enjoyed that part, as long as I could stay away from office politics and all that. In a small firm, you can do that, right? So I thought, hey, this is great. I think I might do this. And then I thought, you know what? I don't want to work for a boss anymore. Done it. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to take orders anymore. I want to do my own boss. So I tossed that one away too. And then I went through it again, and that's when I hit upon becoming an author, teaching others that what I know and what I learned about retirement, and having a lot of fun at doing it. And it made a lot of sense because for whatever reason, I was put through the grinder. So I know retirement really well. I know what works and what doesn't. And I love helping people. And now I can do it at my own speed, working how many hours I want to per week. And, using the internet and social media, it's quite easy. I don't have to travel anymore to give seminars or speeches. I just do it over the computer by Zoom, right? So, I found my sweet spot, and it was all through using Ikigai. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, appreciate you sharing that and how you've used it. And I think what you're describing is, you said earlier, kind of the issue was, well, you're also forced into retirement, which unfortunately kind of blindsides some people sometime. But even if you had chosen retirement, it sounds like you might have been a bit blindsided too, because you're going through 30 some years of working, thinking, okay, I hit this age and this is how it works, and then it wasn't that way. And your
That's right.
encouragement for people is that old thought of kind of retirement is just this. It's not like you're even sailing off into the sunset. You're just on the boat going on the sunset. You're not even the one doing the sailing, but you're trying to encourage people to become a retirement rebel. You've got the hat on saying retirement rebel. Tell me a bit of that about that concept and how someone can become a retirement rebel.
Well, retirement rebel, what we're doing is, we're saying, hey, listen, why follow the retirement status quo, the old traditional way of retiring? Why not become a late bloomer? Why not go on taking, using the freedom we get back when we retire and using it for something productive, something that makes us happy? So instead of quitting and just taking it easy, no, we're going to go on to greater things. And wherever that takes us, we're going to be happy, right? So we're going to keep growing, keep learning, keep being involved in different things. And that, for us, that leads us to a happy life. So that's what retirement rebels are all about. We're breaking those old retirement norms. We're not acting old. We're not thinking old, and we're doing some amazing things. It's just, I'm so excited about it, right? Well, who heard about 100-year-old female skydivers
Mm-hmm.
doing that? It's just crazy, but that's what retirement rebels do. They're breaking the age barrier every day in every way, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you mentioned you're becoming a late bloomer. Well, who cares if you're a late bloomer? You're blooming. That's a great thing. Or even just
That's right.
a rebloomer. I bought my wife some orchids. You buy them when they have some nice flowers on it, and then it's not going to stay like that forever. So I'm trying right now really hard to rebloom the orchid, right? And you put some
And
effort into it, it might just happen. So it's worth putting the effort in instead of just kind of doing the status quo, like you're saying.
well, we're seeing it happen a lot, and and the problem is we had no retirement rebel role models before,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're starting to come out of the woodwork, and we're seeing what some people are doing. So the process, the way it worked was, they would be maybe trapped into a job, say a corporate job, trying to earn money to take care of their family and to pay down the mortgage and everything. And once they achieve some level of financial independence, they can use that FI as a stepping stone to a better life. So instead of stopping, retiring, we're saying, okay, now you have your freedom, you have financial security, and what do you want to do with that? And they're saying, well, you know what? I always wanted to be X. Okay, let's go and try to be X and see what it turns out like, right? That's what we're saying is to start saying, don't look at it as a full stop, but look at it as a change to something better. But you have to know what you want to change into, what you want to bloom into. And we're seeing so many people start their own home-based business. It's just wonderful to see it, right? And they're having the times of their life. They're not working full time. Maybe they're working 20 hours a week, but they love working those 20 hours a week. And then they take that active income they generate, their fun money, and they spend it on other things they like to do. And in my case, it's fishing. I love fly fishing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and there's you've mentioned fishing a few times, but I know there's something maybe perhaps new in your life, and it's one of these principles. You in your book, you write 9 principles for designing your ideal post-career lifestyle. And one thing I just love about the way that you've written the book, I just turned in my manuscript myself for my own book. We'll be promoting that shortly. So it's a lot of work. It took a lot of
Oh,
work,
yeah.
and you got to put a structure into it, and you've really got a good structure, I think, in your book. But one thing I especially appreciate, 2 things, is with the structure, you tell your own story, and then you also give some exercises at the end of each of these chapters saying, here's some things for self reflection. So it's a great, it's a book and a workbook at the same time. I love that. But one of your 9 principles is foster good health. And I know you've been vocal on LinkedIn. That's how we got connected through LinkedIn on your own health journey. That's one of the 9 principles. And I think your health journey is not, you're not the only one, right? Uh, you're doing well. Tell me about this. What's going on with your health journey? And I see, if you're not listening on the on YouTube, if you're hearing the audio, I see a photo, a goal for a Mike behind him talking about the Ironman. So let's hear about this, Mike.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what happened. This happens to a lot of people towards midlife. You're so caught up in work and taking care of your family and whatnot, you let your health slide. And it happens in the normal course for many people. And then, when I was let go of the bank and I was trying to figure things out, I was stressed out. My doctor calls me an emotional eater. So I get stressed, I eat. And then when I decided to write a book, well, I've never written a book before. That stressed me out. So I ate. And then COVID hit.
Mm,
That stressed me out. I really ate. So one day I woke up and I was 60 pounds overweight. I was in the obese category. And I said to myself, it's kind of crazy because I preach good health, yet I was unhealthy. So I said, I have to change this because I wanted to live, as long as possible and as healthy as possible too. That's the key. No use living long if you're not healthy, because what are you going to be able to do, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to turn this thing around. And then I thought, you know what? Why not take the easy way out? So I talked to my doctor and he put me on Ozempic. And that didn't turn out so well because within a couple of months, I fell into a deep depression.
mm,
I suffered from high anxiety. And then I started getting these suicidal thoughts. Now, none of this was listed as a possible side effect on the drug. My doctor didn't think it was a drug that was causing it. But I even went as far as going to Home Depot, picking out different kinds of rope
mm,
because I was right on the edge and I was going to jump, right? And then finally, I listened to my wife and she said, it's got to be the drug because you started acting strange after taking the drug. And so I took myself off it. And within a month and a half, the old Drak came back. And I was happy, but it was really close. But it really opened my eyes to it. And I spent a lot of my time warning people about the possible side effects of Ozempic. I still believe in the drug, which is probably kind of hard to believe because I think it can help a lot of people. But you need to be careful of the side effects, and you need to have people watching you if you go off the rails, that you can take immediate action before things get really bad. So here I am. I was broken mentally and physically. Ozempic played a major number on my body. And I said, okay, I got to get better. I got to take this bull by the horns and turn it around. And that's where I came up with the idea of training for an Ironman. And when I told my wife that, you should have seen the look on her face. She thought I was totally crazy. And I said, no, I'm going to do it. I started telling other people, and people were saying, no, I can't see that happening for you. Sorry to say it. And that just spurred me on more because I'm a
Mm-hmm.
retirement rebel. When someone says you can't do it, I have to prove that, no, it's
You
doable.
got it.
So I started training, and I'm going to make my attempt August 3rd in Ottawa, Canada. And it's going to be really interesting. I have 90 days to go, and I'm working out like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
swimming, biking, running. I'm tired all the time. My body hurts all the time, but I've got the goal.
Yep.
I have new purpose, and I want to show people what's possible in retirement if you're disciplined and willing to do the work. And no matter what happens on race day, I'm going to have my health back.
Right
And
on.
then from that point on, I'm going to maintain it and and hopefully live a long and healthy life. That's the end goal of it. But yeah, I have to pay my dues, and I'm working hard at it every day.
Yeah. Good for you. Well, you're certainly putting in the effort, which is wonderful, and I very much appreciate you sharing some of the depths of that story, because a lot of people think they're alone in thoughts like that, and thankfully you had someone uh, take you out of it, and you realized, let's try something different, and this something different is really helping you out. I like it. Yeah.
But the takeaway here is that things don't have to stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
You can be your own person, have your own dreams and aspirations. And if you want to get healthy, you want to lose weight, you can do it,
Yep.
provided you're willing to do the work and you're disciplined and you're consistent in your approach. And that's what I'm trying to do, is serve as a good role model to people. Say, okay, let me teach you about retirement, Chuck, and let me show you how to get healthy and stay healthy, because
Yeah.
these are mistakes I made myself. So it's a true story, and I think that's what resonates with people, right? I'm 70 years old, and I'm going to attempt an Ironman. It's crazy, but
Yeah.
it's beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you're doing is something you wrote about in your book a few years back. Is you want to create a good ending to your retirement movie, and you're living that
Exactly.
right now. And tell me a little bit more about that concept, this idea of creating a good ending to your retirement movie.
Well, one day I woke up and I said, okay, if I was making a movie, what would it look like? And I said, okay, let's go back and look at the tapes for the beginning of my movie. And like I said, I wasn't very happy about it because, I spent a lot of time in the bank. I found it very stressful and whatnot. Worked a lot of hours, walked away with high blood pressure and things like that. And I said, I don't like that part. I'm going to change it. I want to have a happy ending for sure. And I wanted to work on the things that need work on. I want to improve the relationships I had with my kids and my wife, because I was working all the time. So I started working on that, and then the last piece was, okay, let's work on my body now and my mind, my mental outlook, and let's turn that on a positive track. And we're working towards that happy movie. I can honestly say life has never been better for me, but it was rough getting here.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been so much easier if I had someone that could have guided me. But like I said, there was nobody back then that could do that type of work, right? No one understood it. No one thought retirement could be rough,
Mm-hmm.
but it is for many, right?
Yeah. What could be rough about your goal, right? It's the goal for most everyone working is hit retirement. Well, it must be nirvana, and yet a lot of times it isn't.
Oh yeah, because then you can just sit back and take it easy. But
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm teaching my kids. I'm saying, forget about retirement. Focus on financial independence. Work
Mm-hmm.
towards that. And once you achieve that, your whole world opens up.
Yep.
But I don't know why the banks don't talk about it so much, right? They're so set in their ways on retirement's the end goal, and that's all that counts. And it's all
Mm-hmm.
about money, and that's all wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll come around, but banks are very slow, right? They're
Yep.
big boats and they're hard to turn.
Yeah.
But
They're kind of designed to
it
be that
will
way.
happen. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And they don't like rebels with new ideas that
There
go
you go.
against their
Right.
brand. Oh no, we can't listen to this guy. He's a radical.
Yeah, I love it. Good. Well, I got one more question for you, Mike. Before that, tell
Sure.
us what's the best way to reach out to you.
Email me at michael.drak, D-R-A-K, at yahoo.ca. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Oh, you can follow me on Instagram at retirement_rebel. So you can follow my Ironman journey there. And if you want to download free copies of my books, you can get Retirement Heaven or Hell, or you can get Longevity Lifestyle by Design. Just visit boomingencore.com, BOOMINGENCORE.com, and you can download them for free right there.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
great.
my gift of giving back to people so they don't end up in retirement hell like I did.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. We'll get links to that in the show notes. And yeah, appreciate you sharing your story. But I've got one final question. Tell us something
Sure.
about yourself that few people know about. And remember, this podcast is Ready Clean.
That people don't know about myself.
Few people.
I'm a very kind and likable person.
Well, I can
Some
tell.
people some people think I come up across a little rough and I'm stubborn. I am, but not rough. But I care an awful lot about people,
Mm-hmm.
and I have this strong need to help others, to
Yep.
serve others, and in the work I'm doing now, I get to satisfy that need, and to me, that was a life changer. And to learn that and be able to live life that was meant to be is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finally there, but yeah, I wasn't before. People just thought I was a rebel and like pushing back on things, which I did too. So
That's right. We're making use of that to help others. I like it.
thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Mike, sharing with us a bit of the journey through retirement health so that you can get to your own retirement heaven. I think you're there and you're bringing everyone else along with it. That's great.
Thanks, Jeremy. It was a pleasure being on your show today.
Yeah, I enjoyed having you here. And thank you for listening to the Retirement Revealed podcast. We believe if you know more about your money, you will feel better about your money and you will make better money decisions. Hi, I'm Jeremy Keil with the Keil Financial Partners. If you'd like to see how we help our clients get more income, pay less in taxes, and avoid big retirement mistakes, head on over to keilfp.com. That's KEILFP.com.